Donald's silent rage. The episode that no one talks about. Everyone knows Donald Duck. He's loud, short-tempered, and always quacking in frustration. But that's what makes him funny. No matter how angry he gets, he always snaps back to his usual self. Always. Except for one episode. One that never aired. One that Disney never talks about. Because in that episode, Donald doesn't say a word. The strange tape. It was an old VHS tape found in a Disney storage room by an intern named Elliot. There was no label, just a strip of masking tape with a name scribbled in red ink. Donald Test Animation do not distribute. Elliot, curious, popped the tape into an old player. The screen flickered to life, and the weirdest Donald Duck episode he had ever seen began to play. Something is wrong with Donald. The episode started like any normal short. Donald, Mickey, and Goofy were standing in Mickey's house, talking. But right away, Elliot noticed something was off. Donald wasn't talking, he was just standing there. His fists clenched at his sides, his feathers slightly ruffled. Mickey was chattering, his usual cheerful self, but every time he looked at Donald, his expression flickered with concern. "Hey, pal, you okay?" Mickey asked. Donald didn't respond. He didn't even blink. Goofy chuckled nervously. "Huck, what's wrong, Donald?" Still, silence. Then, for the first time in Disney animation history, Mickey looked scarce for. The eyes that were too human. The camera zoomed in on Donald's face. His eyes weren't right. Normally they were simple, round cartoon eyes, but now they had depth. Too much depth. The whites of his eyes were veined, like real eyes, human eyes, and his irises were slightly red. His beak trembled, his fingers twitched, like he was holding something back. Then, the background music cut out. Total silence. And that's when Mickey's voice shook. "Donald, say something, buddy." But Donald didn't speak. Instead, he took a step forward. Act 5. The silent rage. Donald's feet scraped the floor as he moved. His breathing, low and raspy, was the only sound in the entire episode. Mickey staggered backward. "Goofy, I don't think he's okay," he whispered. Goofy nodded, his usual dumb grin completely gone. "Maybe we should..." Crash! The screen glitched violently. For a second, it went completely black. Then, a single frame flashed. A distorted still image of Donald, mouth open too wide, eyes pitch black, hands raised and covered in something dark. Not red, but black ink, smeared up to his elbows. Like something had been scrubbed out of the scene, like something had been censored. The frame that shouldn't exist. The animation cut back to normal. Donald was standing there again, motionless, but now the background was empty. Mickey and Goofy were gone. The room was too quiet. Donald's shoulders were rising and falling, as if he had just finished something exhausting. His beak twitched. Then, for the first time in the entire episode, Donald smiled. But it wasn't his usual goofy grin. It was wrong, too small, too tight. And then in a voice that sounded almost human, he whispered, "I feel better now." The tape that disappeared. Elliot shut off the VHS. His hands were shaking. He ejected the tape, stuffed it back in its case, and shoved it into the farthest corner of the storage room. He didn't tell anyone, didn't report it, didn't try to watch it again. But later that night, as he was closing up, he swore he heard something. From deep inside the dark storage room, a faint, raspy breath, followed by a low, scratchy voice, a voice too hoarse, too real, a voice that shouldn't exist outside the tape. "I feel better now."